Week 11 teams are doing well because it's getting into crunch time. These are the must win games here to start locking up playoff spots and pulling away from the crowd. So this week's going to be huge. Quarterbacks are dropping like flies. We're going to get into that a little bit. What those implications look like, especially for the AFC, is going to make things really, really interesting. Yeah, we're going to mix it up a little bit today. We're going to talk about the big topics that are going on. Always get your questions in on who you should start, who you should sit, and everything in between. I don't care. Just jump in, talk with us, be engaged. That's all we can ask for. It's all we want, right? So let's have a little bit of fun talking about football before football starts. Let's go. Yes. John, how you doing?
I'm good. My team cannot lose today. I mean, maybe it can.
Technically, somebody could get hurt today.
Well, that or so this is what would mean a win for the Patriots today. The Giants beating Washington. Carolina somehow beating Dallas. Which won't happen, but I mean, hey, you know what? I like simple Christmas gifts. That could be one of them.
Yeah.
Today, Arizona winning.
Did you know that the Panthers actually have better odds than the Giants did against Dallas?
Of course they do.
They're 11-point favorites. Dallas is. They were 14-point favorites against the Giants.
So I heard something this morning as I'm coming back from making my market basket run. And for those who don't know, it's a supermarket chain here in the Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, I believe Connecticut too. So the Jets, when the draft picks were starting to align and the Trevor sweepstakes, I'll call them, started really showing light. Yeah, we're going back a few years. When the Jets beat the Rams, and I'm sure you do remember that, Joe, being an avid Jets fan. I remember that too, because I think we did a show, and you even said that was going to cost them Trevor Lawrence, and that you were okay with Zach Wilson. Mm-hmm. In fact, that's when the tide started turning that you were okay with Zach Wilson. But that's why I'm hoping that the Patriots beating Buffalo this year and continuing to lose after that isn't our Trevor Lawrence game, I'll call it. Because the Patriots have a chance to get a top 3 pick right now. Carolina, of course, their pick is going to go to Chicago. So right now, I think Chicago's drafting 1 and 3 or 1 and 4, I believe, or something like that. If the season ended today, so. I just thought that was intriguing. One win that meant nothing to the Jets that year, except probably gave them a little bit of a high, cost them going from Lawrence to whoever, So, and not that any of those quarterbacks have done much, including Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I think he'll end up being the best one, but I mean, let's face it. I would be curious to see if we mix and match. Fields going to like the Jets, Lawrence going to the Patriots. Who knows what would have happened? You know what I mean? It's just none of them are doing really, really well. I mean, statistic wise, and I'm sorry, Lawrence looked like Mac Jones last week versus San Francisco. So just an interesting take. I just found it interesting this morning, and I forgot who they beat, but that was a pretty powerful Rams team, if I remember, led by Matt Stafford that day.
Yeah.
So,
yes, that was a major upset, and all thanks to Braden Mann with his shoestring kickoff return tackle that he made that cost them that.
Right.
One of the worst punters that we had, but made a shoestring tackle to save a touchdown that would have won the Rams the game and would have changed a lot. But hey, that's the game, right?
Right.
Unfortunately. So, I mean, that would be a fun thing to go back and because I know going into that draft, like we were all like pumped about the quarterback. That quarterback class was huge. And you completely forgot to mention Trey Lance, who who knows what will ever happen with that, if anything.
Yeah,
But
the huge trade San Francisco made to get him, and ended up drafting their quarterback with the very last pick. So crazy times, and that's why when I start hearing people say this is an extremely great quarterback draft class, is it this year? I don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter till they get in the league, right? So, I don't know. Would swapping the quarterbacks around make a difference? We may find out, Joe. We just never know. You know what I mean? The way they're playing.
I mean, go back to the 2018 draft class and look at. I mean, Baker Mayfield's been on 2 different teams. Sam Darnold's been on 2 different.
Baker's been on 3 teams, hasn't he?
Browns, Rams,
Panthers, and now Tampa.
Panthers, Bucks. Yeah, so he's been on 4 teams. Darnold's been on 3 teams.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you never know how it's going to work out. But it was weird to see like that draft class looked like a powerhouse, and it's been nothing close to it. So that's really interesting. And then you look at last year, which looked like or year before last, which looked like a pretty soft quarterback class, and you got Brock Purdy out of it.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, who knows, right? Who knows what's to come of the quarterbacks? But it's going to be fun to watch, I think, and see. But yeah, exactly like you said, like there's some pretty interesting quarterbacks in the college realm right now that haven't committed to coming out yet. But like you talk about with Williams, with Michael Penix Jr. up here in Washington, that kid just keeps winning. He looks great. There's a lot of what used to be the Pac-12 quarterbacks that are looking good. Right. You know, there are a lot of the teams out here, USC, Washington, Oregon State, good teams that are being, I think, nobody talks about. Well, Caleb Williams gets talked about a lot, but Michael Penix doesn't get talked about a lot. And he's just 10-0 and just continues to win up here in Washington. He's an interesting quarterback to keep an eye on too. But yeah, it's going to be I don't know the answer to it, but it's fun to watch, and it really sucks. And what you were talking about, like, oh well, hopefully the Patriots can, this happens and this happens and we get a top 3 pick. Well, that's my world you're living in now, John. You're living in my world, and it sucks because you get hyped on these quarterbacks that look great, and then and you've lived it with me for since Mark Sanchez.
Since I've known you, yeah. Since I've known you.
And you get excited about the Sanchez. You get excited about Sam Darnold. You get excited about Zach Wilson.
Because to.
Yeah, and for good reason.
You have to, yeah.
For good reason. They were good college quarterbacks, right? But look what happens. And then, and it's like, what do you do? Do you just keep starting over again? Do you just keep starting over again? Do you the definition of insanity, like, is that? And that's kind of what the Jets have been doing. Is just like, all right, 3 years, new quarterback, 3 years, new quarterback, 3 years, new quarterback. It's just like,
well, you guys went the right route this year. It just didn't turn out, And Alex, congrats on your high school going to that. That's pretty cool. Are they playing in Indianapolis? I'm guessing at the Dome. Is that where they have all the Super Bowls there, or do they?
Well, he's in Kansas.
Wait. Yeah. He's in Kansas, but he's a Chargers. Why did I think he was from Indy?
Well, I mean, it makes sense. He's from Kansas and he's a Chargers fan, so it really doesn't. Yeah.
I don't know why I put him.
Nobody from California is really a Chargers fan. It's
fan, true.
It's all weird people from around the country, which I love Alex, but yeah, it still makes no sense to this day why he's a Chargers fan. But
So, Joe, all this quarterback talk has me thinking, and I thought about this listening to EI this morning too. The radio announcers, I think, nailed it. They don't want the Patriots to tank, but at the same time, they don't want the Pats to win for a good draft pick. So, and they said something. I said, I have to ask Joe this today.
Okay.
Did you ever get like used to losing and just accept it because you know you're going to get a good draft pick? Like right now, 2-8. Even if the Patriots went out, which they're not, they go 9-8. Still really does nothing. You still have to blow the team up. So, are you wanting like watching the Jets over the years? And I'm not trying to dog you. Trust me, that's not. I've done that enough through the years with your team. But
yeah, you've kicked me while I'm down plenty.
I have plenty of times, and that's why I'm really not now.
Yeah.
Did you hope they would lose, like against the Rams when they won? Were you like, come on, man? We got Trevor Lawrence sitting here at Clemson. Yeah.
I was pissed. Because it gets to the point to where, and I know not all fans are like this, but like I don't want to see the team win for the sake of a good vibe in week 17. Right. Like I don't care if they end the season on a high note when they win 2 games. It just doesn't matter to me, right? Like what matters is how do we get the team to be better, and jumping from like hypothetically speaking, I'm looking at the rankings right now. Right now, New England has the 3rd pick in the draft. If they win another game, they could potentially fall to the 8th pick in the draft. That is a significant drop when you're looking at a quarterback. Because you're either praying to God that something goes right, or you're trading assets to move back up to get the quarterback that you needed because you won 1 meaningless game in week 17. It just doesn't make sense. So, I mean, for me, for the last decade, what I've done is gotten excited in the beginning of the year. By Halloween, I was done with that. And then I was just kind of evaluating. I was seeing like, hey, do the wide receivers that we got look good? Does the defense look good? How's the quarterback do? Are we seeing progression? Where do we need, like, what are we going to be looking for in the offseason? Like, I kind of got into an evaluation mode normally by Halloween, Thanksgiving timeframe. And then I'm just watching. How is this guy doing? Is he getting better? Is he getting worse? Is it, what's causing this team to suck so bad? And that's kind of where I went, because it was more enjoyable for me to do that than it was to watch them get their asses kicked every week. So, I just went into like a GM role. Where would I start replacing pieces? Where would I start targeting things? So that's what's kept me alive for the last decade as a Jets fan, is just playing virtual GM. And what would I do? What would I replace? And just watch games and just evaluate players, the rookies, watch how the rookies play and stuff like that. And kept me alive. And hopefully that helps you, because it's not easy.
It's going to have to. It's going to have to, because it's just 2-8. I start looking at the standings today, and I'm like, just not used to this. Even the last couple of years we've been in it. Maybe not looking great, but I mean, last year, what woulda, shoulda, coulda, what if? They lost 3 games in the last couple minutes last year. They could have had 10, 11 wins last year. So, and that's as bad as they played. They didn't play good football. So, it's just weird looking at the standings, and the Patriots are mentioned the same breath as the Giants this year. Worse than the Bears, just barely better than Carolina, and Arizona. Those are teams we laugh at because they're terrible. Well, now they're laughing at us, and I'm sure a lot of people are loving it, which I get. Patriots won for 20 years. I'm not saying, oh, woe is me, but it's just I don't want to see them win another game, and I hate saying that as a fan. But I don't want to see them win a game, but I want to watch good football. So I guess you can't really have both,
No, no, you can't.
Okay, and I don't want them to win a game, but I want to watch okay football. How about that? Okay football.
Well, you want to see your young guys getting better.
Of course.
And I think that if that's how you go into it, it's going to keep you going. If you watch the young guys and you see progression, and there's things to say, okay, we can build here. These are guys that could be a future piece to this team. That's great. But I mean, if you don't have anything, it's just not fun. Like you can't just sit
No.
there and watch okay football for the sake of watching okay football. So like that's what helped me get through it is let's see if Mac could get better. Let's see if I don't even know who any of your rookies are, but let's see if some of these young 1-2 year players are looking better, if they're making stupid mistakes still, like, things to get excited about for next year. But I could only imagine, and it sucks that I no longer live in New England, and I say that very loosely because I would love to experience the environment that is New England right now. Like I was there through the worst of it. And now it's at the very bottom, and it's like, oh my God, I could kick everybody now while they're down, flip them off on the highway like I got for being a Jets fan. And, like it is
so funny.
It's terrible. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out and how New England fans, especially the younger ones, are going to deal with this, because it's got to go full rebuild. This isn't going to be just a 1 year and then it turns into an 11-win season next year because they draft a rookie quarterback. Like that's not the Tom Brady days are over. So that's going to be an interesting one to watch develop. And if they just turn back into the 80s New England Patriots, like if you don't get a quarterback, you don't win in this league. And that's and even if you have a quarterback, you're an injury away from being irrelevant. So and that's something that I wanted to talk about with you a little bit is this quarterback problem that we've got in the AFC especially, but I mean it has affected the NFC as well. But I mean the quarterbacks are dropping I don't remember seeing a rash of It's like every week a starting quarterback is going down for the season, and we do get Justin Fields back this week, but you lose Deshaun Watson and Joe Burrow last week. I mean, that's major pieces there. So now we got Rodgers down for the year, potentially. Daniel Jones. Let's see. Stafford's back, but we'll see if he can even, he might be one of those like in and out type of guys. Right. You've got, Tennessee wasn't by injury, but it was by poor play. So another replaced starting quarterback. Atlanta replaced their starting quarterback, again, not injury wise, but let's see. Yeah. Jets lose Rodgers. Colts lose their Richardson for the year. Jimmy Garoppolo's replaced in Vegas. I don't know. Josh Allen still has his job, but
I know it's just crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, but
it's just friggin' crazy, man. How many people have gone down? It's just it's almost
Burrow, Cousins.
Yeah, Cousins. I forgot about Cousins there too. I mean, it's just
so it's
I don't know.
It's wild to think of all of it. And, the Deshaun Watson thing, though, like that, I mean, could that like just become its own like living thing? Like if you go there, that's just it. Like end your career. Because I don't understand. Like Deshaun Watson was so good in Houston.
Right.
And he had a year off. I should say a year suspension, but he didn't play for, a whole year plus. But you're still a young quarterback. Like I understand, like maybe last year was getting kind of into a new system and stuff like that. But this year he didn't look good either, even when he was healthy. And it's like, is it a Cleveland thing? Like there's no reason why Deshaun Watson shouldn't be a good football player still. He's 26 years old?
Yep.
I mean, he's not old enough to suck. So how could he have played that bad? It makes no sense to me whatsoever, unless it's just something in the water in Cleveland. Like maybe they got the Flint pipes down there too, and nobody's figured it out yet. I don't know, but there's got to be a link to why every quarterback that goes to Cleveland sucks.
Yeah, it's just terrible. It's just terrible because they are. Every one of them is terrible. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Every single one of them. And
I agree with Alex. It was stupid, but
Shane and I were talking. My brother Shane, of course, and we were talking about that. Remember when Le'Veon Bell took a year off He was done after that. Watson, of course, was out a year, not really on his own choice, of course, but he came back. He didn't look very well at the end of last year, started this year up. I wonder if he's been hurt the whole year. I just wonder if he's been hurt this year. I mean, he's been out. This is the second time he's been out anyways. So it's not like he hasn't been injured this year. So I just wonder if he's been healthy at all this year at all. But somehow, well, what was he? Last week in the second half, he went like 14 for 14 or something like that. There was some crazy stat I heard about him. So it's there. I just don't think he can get going, to be quite honest. I don't think he's healthy. Let's see. He's passed for, in 6 games, 1,100 yards, 185 yards a game, 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and 17 sacks. I mean, that's a lot, and that's a pretty damn good O-line. It's just weird, and now we're going to get Dorian Thompson-Robinson this week, which I
over PJ Walker, who actually was competitive for them.
I know,
which doesn't make sense.
I don't get, man. I don't get that one bit. So, it's just weird. It is. It's just kind of weird. So,
because they started Dorian one game, and he looked horrendous, right? And then I think he got hurt, and then PJ Walker came in and played for him, but he looked like friggin' DeVito in the Giants, like just running around helpless, like didn't know what to do with it. And like PJ Walker has looked very, very serviceable for a backup quarterback. Has looked really good when he's played. And in a division game, you're going to turn to somebody who looks terrible, unless PJ Walker's hurt as well, and they feel like they can't get 100% out of him. But,
you know what I mean? That's kind of the weird part.
That defense is great.
So you figure with Burrow down, you can kind of, I mean, Cincy was kind of knocking on the door anyways, if not doing well, even before they lost Burrow. So now you're going against the Steelers today, and you're starting a guy who didn't look well against the Steelers defense. That's not bad. I mean, they're not great, but actually points-wise, they are really good. They're like 4th or 5th in the league.
Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3, 5th in the league for points. So they don't give up a lot of points. So that's who you're going against. You know what I mean? I don't understand that.
He's not going to finish this game.
And no, there's no way. What's crazy is the Steelers are 6-3 too. I don't understand that. Tomlin's. I can't remember if it was you or somebody else, but that guy's like by far the best coach ever, I think. I get his Super Bowls, but he always puts a competitive team out there. Always.
Yeah. I agree. I don't know how he does it, but he's a great coach. He really is. He wins games, and he's outside of Bill Belichick. I mean, probably if I had to pick a coach to coach for my team, it would be him. So
absolutely.
All right. So Dylan, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the country. A couple questions here from him. Quite a few questions. So we've got question 1, question 2, question 3, 3 questions. Okay.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah. So first one, Hollywood Brown in a flex, full PPR or McBride. I'm going to go McBride in this one. And I'm only doing this because Kyler Murray looked for him a lot in his first game back. And I think that's going to continue. It looks like that was a nice safety net for him going against the Texans this week. I think McBride's going to get a lot of play again. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he's gotten a lot of targets all year. You know, he got, 10 or 12 in the Baltimore game. 9 last week against Atlanta, 5 the week before against Cleveland, but that defense is really, really good. I think PPR wise, I would go with him only because I think you'll get more receptions, where I think the home run ball will go to Marquise Brown if there is one, but another guy who's a target monster. I'm looking right now, the last 5 games, 20, 27, 35, almost 40 targets the last 5 games. So again, huge, but his yardage isn't there. Nothing over 45 yards. So I would absolutely go McBride there, only because he's probably going to get at least 10 balls thrown his way.
Yep. All right. So question 2 here. Start 1 running back, 1 flex. Connor, Etienne, Waddle. Definitely Waddle. And I'm leaning Connor there, just because I don't know how much I don't know how much run he's going to get in his first week.
I am too. So Connor had more carries last week than all the running backs combined. I think there's 4 running backs that got carries, and he had 16 or 17 and tripled everybody. I would go Connor. I just think I don't see Mostert falling out of this offense just because he's back. And then definitely Waddle is your flex, I think. I think they're going to put up a lot of points against Vegas, with Vegas potentially putting up a lot of points against them. So all it takes is Devontae to break one free, or Jacobs to break one free. Miami doesn't have the stoutest defense in the world. By name, yes, but they are playing down in Miami too. So I would expect a lot of points from Miami, and I have Waddle in 2 of my leagues, so I'm hoping he gets a lot of love. So I'd go Connor and Waddle as well.
All right, and then last but not least, start 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 1 flex. It's definitely CJ Stroud until otherwise noted. I can't go with Fields coming off of a IR stint right out the gate. CJ Stroud against the Cardinals defense, I mean, that should be a feast, I would think. Yeah. And now that Kyler's back, he can keep up. I think the Cardinals offense will be able to keep up a little bit better and keep that game going. So it's going to be that has potential to be a high scoring game, I think. I would go CJ Stroud. I like Singletary as well in that game, especially with Dameon Pierce out, and Singletary's been looking really good. I would definitely plug that one in, and Waddle again. And Sarge agrees. Or I don't know. Is that a disagree bark or you're absolutely right?
I can't tell. It sounds like a leaf just hit the ground. So he's letting me know a leaf hit the ground.
So yeah, what do you think? So I'm going to go Stroud, Singletary, Waddle in that.
So I get a similar dilemma in one of my leagues. I get Stroud and Josh Allen, which I can't. No, Dobbs and Josh Allen. So that makes it a little bit easier. I guess Stroud and Tua, and I'm going with Tua today. But this year I'm going Stroud. I think Fields will have a good game with the rushing yards as well, but that Detroit D's tough. I'd much rather have a quarterback going up against Arizona. So I'm going Stroud. And honestly, I'm going Waddle here. Again, I think that Miami offense is going to put up a lot of points, and they just play different at home. But my secondary would probably be either Singletary or Connor. Ford today, they're going to stack the box and probably make the guy pass. So I just don't like that matchup, and it's in Pittsburgh, I think, too. So
no, it's a home game, but
is it? Okay, makes it a little bit better, but I'd go Stroud and Waddle. That's what I would do.
Yeah, and I mean Steelers Browns, 2 of the best defenses, like we were just talking about. So avoid that.
Just bet the under. Just bet the under in that.
Yeah. So Dylan,
good luck, Dylan.
It sounds like we completely agreed on all of it. So, Dylan, let us know if you're going to follow that. Come back, subscribe. Let us know next week. I'm going to keep an eye. I'm going to take a picture of this so I can track it.
Yeah, same here. Same here.
It's a good question. So, I'm going to track it through the day.
Joe.
Yeah,
yes. Send me that. Hopefully we can. Hopefully he's got to come back next week and be like, man, I won this week because the advice you guys gave. Not, hey, you totally screwed me because Ford got, 47 points and 6 touchdowns.
Not going to happen.
You know what I mean?
Not going to happen.
No one's predicting that either, Dylan, so it's not just us. Happy
and
Sunday,
Derek,
Ben.
Good morning, man.
Yes.
Good to see you, buddy. Benjamin. So, again, like kind of where I started with this was the AFC quarterback. Well, I guess the entire AFC situation right now is getting very muddled, right? Because of these injuries. And, there's a lot of teams like, and this goes back to my Jets. They should not theoretically be in the conversation still for a wild card spot. Theoretically, they're still in the conversation for the division. I mean,
Yes.
it's not, they're 2 games back from Miami right now and haven't played Miami yet.
Mathematically, they are. Yeah,
Right.
mathematically, they are.
And the way that they've been playing, they should not be. You look at the division as a whole, and it's just as and it's getting worse because of these quarterback injuries. You can't take the Bengals seriously anymore. You really can't take Cleveland serious anymore. And those are 2 teams that are 6-3, 5-5, and now probably out of contention, right? I mean, the Colts are at 5-5, but Gardner Minshew doesn't scare you. The Titans are at 3-6. Your Stroud's learning, but I don't think not Stroud. Levis is learning.
Levis.
Yeah, he's learning, but he's shown flashes, but I haven't seen like that. I'm going to take this team on my shoulders and carry the victories. You know what I mean? Raiders with Aiden O'Connell. I don't trust that. They don't look very good. Chargers, they're going to charger their way through the season. I think we can agree on that. They're going to win some games. They're going to lose some games. They're going to end up right there on the cusp, and the Broncos 4-5. I mean, Russell Wilson's looked much better than last year, but they're still not a great team there in Denver. So
terrible. Their defense just gives up so many points.
Right. And the offense isn't good enough to keep up with a lot of the teams in their division, much less the entire NFL. So, I mean, outside of the Ravens and the Chiefs and the Dolphins, I mean, those are probably the 3 elite teams right now. Like you were talking about, Jacksonville's in first, but they're so up and down. Trevor Lawrence will have great games, and then he will have a rookie game that you're just like, what the hell just happened, right? Unstartable, really, in fantasy because you just can't trust him.
No.
So, I mean, this is and even with Houston, with CJ Stroud, they're 5-4. He's playing great as a rookie, but he's still a rookie. And that's a young team that is coming up. So, the AFC is wide open. Absolutely wide open right now for anybody to take. I mean, hell, even New England on a 4-game winning streak could get back in the conversation, because a lot of teams are going to lose. That's how
I'm looking forward to next year.
That's how
I'm okay with 2-15. Last time we did that, I think we drafted Irving Fryer in 1981. No, it wasn't 81. 84 maybe. Irvin Fryer out of Nebraska, wide receiver. I'll never forget that. They were 2-14. Number 1 pick, they take a wide receiver, which I'd be okay with this year with Marvin Harrison Jr. Truly.
Yeah. Well, he's going to be
sit 1.
He's going to be something special, Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
Okay, what do we got?
You get a good problem there, Eric.
Sit 1. McLaurin, Metcalf. Not Rashid White, not Waddle. I think it's down to those 2.
So White got a tough game against San Fran, but man, he's a PPR machine with his receptions. He's like Alvin Kamara.
You have to start him. Because even if they're out of the game, he's looked at as a dump off for everything. So. Huge. I would have to start him. Seattle's going against the Rams. That's in LA.
But that should make no difference.
No. And Washington against the Giants.
So I'm going to go by the quarterbacks. I would probably sit McLaurin, but that's a tough one between McLaurin and Metcalf, to be quite honest.
I'm gonna sit Metcalf.
I would sit McLaurin, so I'm not helping out any here.
Well, you're definitely starting White and Waddle. I think that we can tell you. I'm gonna pick on the Giants. I'm gonna pick on the Giants and say McLaurin is gonna go ballistic. It's a division game.
Here's why I would pick Metcalf, because Lockett has a hamstring issue.
Yeah,
and that means more targets for him. Or what's the other guy's name? Smith and Jigba?
Yeah.
Or am I saying that backwards?
Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Who
I wanted the Jets to draft so bad over Will McDonald, who never plays. But they are looking at him a lot more.
That's why I would go Metcalf, though.
Okay.
That's the only reason. But, I mean, you get the number 1 quarterback
what?
in the league on Washington too.
I'm going to flip. I'm going to agree with you just because that Giants game will probably be out of control very quickly, and
Right.
they won't have to throw too much in this Rams game with Matt Stafford back. That could be a much closer game to where the offense stays up tempo and there's a lot more passes going on. So yeah, I would probably. I'm going to switch to John on this one. You sold me. Sit McLaurin just because that game might be over by halftime. Fields or Purdy? Purdy.
So do you have like DJ Moore or any 49ers on that team or any Bears? You got I think upside is what Fields, but if you only need like a 20 to 25er, I think Purdy's your guy too. You know what I mean? Because I think Fields could potentially go nuts, but again, you're playing Detroit's defense in Detroit. I get it. Okay, I just
off the IR.
Talked myself out of it. Yeah. Okay, Purdy all the way.
Purdy all the way.
Purdy all the way.
Week 1 coming off, and he didn't look great to start the year off. So going against the Lions defense in Detroit, I don't like it. And I never thought I'd say that. I never thought I would
stacking. Say. Okay, I'd go Purdy then. I mean, if you had like DJ Moore, because I think Moore is going to be very active today along with Cole Kmet. I think they're going to be losing. So Fields is going to have to throw, which is not his strength. So if he was going to be able to run all game, I'd probably say yeah, but he's going to have to throw the ball out. So you're looking at potential bad decisions because he's forcing stuff. So okay, more I think about it, Purdy.
Yep, Purdy all day. Yeah. All right, Jose, pick 2 running backs and 1 flex, full PPR, Barkley, Singletary, Swift, Evans, or Hopkins. Man,
if you want to start this one,
go ahead
this time. So if you have Barkley, I would start him every game because they're going to force feed him. Mm-hmm. I would probably go Barkley in. You got Philly playing KC, so again another higher scoring type game. Okay, my flex, I'm probably going Mike Evans. That I will stick at. I don't trust Will Levis yet. And I'd probably go Barkley and Swift, to be quite honest. I don't think Joe's going to agree with me there because he loves Singletary this week.
I do. But I like all of them. So that is definitely this is definitely a dilemma to go on. But actually I agree with Barkley, even though he hasn't actually. No, I'm not. I'm going to switch off of you because I'm going to go Singletary and Swift in this one, which hurts to say I'm going to bench Barkley, but this game might be so out of control. And they can't throw the ball. The Giants just cannot move the ball at all. They're going to stack the box, and DeVito can't throw. He just looks terrible as a quarterback. So I'm going to say Singletary and Swift in this one, even though the Eagles like to use all of their running backs, which makes me nervous as well. And then I'm going. Who did you say for the flex?
I would go Mike Evans. I just don't think San Francisco's weakness is their D-backs. Mm-hmm. And I don't think anybody can cover Evans. I haven't seen Will Levis has only had 1 good game, and I've gotten burnt 2 weeks now with D-Hop. I mean, he's getting tons of targets, but I mean, they're just bad passes. They're just bad passes.
Yeah, I mean, people started getting excited about DeAndre Hopkins after that big multi-touchdown game a couple weeks ago, but then it's kind of come back to earth. So I was kind of going that flex between Barkley and Evans at that point. But yeah, Mike Evans week in and week out he's uncoverable at 30 years old, which is insane. Yes. I mean, he is having probably his most dominant season that I could remember. I mean, he is just unstoppable. And then if you look at the upside, it's so weird to say, the upside is better for Evans than it is for Barkley this week. Because I just don't, yes, it is a full PPR. Barkley might catch some dump offs. They're not going to amount to anything. I would rather take Evans because he's going to pick up 30, 40-yard chunks at a time on those catches. So, Jose, I think for me, I'm going to say Singletary, Swift, Evans. So
Yeah.
we've agreed on some of it. So we'll see who made the most compelling argument for you. Let us know who you're going to put in. Curious to see which way you're going to go and track it. And his last question, since you love both of these quarterbacks, where would you go on this one?
I'm sitting here thinking that now. I would probably go Tua, and here's the only reason. Well, two reasons. They're both quarterbacks are playing at home. Both play much better at home. So you get Goff going against Chicago, which is an absolute terrible defense. But they do have both running backs back, as does Tua for Miami. They're playing Vegas. I just like Miami's wide receivers better, to be quite honest. Hill and Waddle, they can catch a 5-yard slant and run it 85 yards. I think I've said that before about Hill and Waddle. And they've got both running backs back. So I just like Miami's offense a little bit better this week. I think the Detroit game is going to be a handoff feast around the middle of the third quarter on to Montgomery and Gibbs. More specifically Gibbs, get him some more playing time. So I would go Tua, but boy, that's a tough one because I think I'm going Goff in my big DraftKings league because I'm pairing them up with Amar St. Brown. So I just think that 1-2 punch is going to be good in the first half. But I'm starting 2 in 2 of my long-term fantasy weeks. So it's almost a coin flick, but I'm going Goff in DraftKings because St. Brown is cheaper than Hill, to be quite honest.
Nice. I'm going to say Tua as well, just because they don't let up. And I think they'll both be good quarterbacks. But yeah, I agree with you. I think they're the Dolphins at home. They're just going to keep putting points up until the clock hits 0. So it's a hard one to go against, even against a bad defense. But again, the Lions are more balanced, I feel like. So that they could just start running the ball a lot more and just kind of run the clock away, and the Dolphins just keep throwing. So I would go Tua with that as well for that. So thank you to all the guys that are getting the questions in, man. Appreciate it. That's what makes us fun.
Just breaking down and
helping you guys get these wins in. If you're watching on other platforms as well, jump over to our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe there. Even if you don't watch it, jump over there and subscribe just to help us get more views and get more momentum with the algorithm. So yeah, if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on Twitch, Twitter, whatever it is, please jump over to YouTube, look up the Fantasy Slant over there and subscribe to that. Help us continue to grow. It's hard to beat the algorithm without you guys. So continue to get your questions in. We've got 15 minutes to go, so it's running low, but last minute changes are always important. So so I want to talk a little bit about Jets Bills as we're discussing how wide open the AFC is for a playoff spot. Like, Josh Allen and the Bills look like they are in a lot of trouble. And I saw Stephon Diggs might be leaving after this year. His brother's telling him to get out of there. They're saying, and I'm seeing a lot of things. Should Stephon Diggs move on after this season? I mean, the holier than thou Buffalo Bills are looking broken. Josh Allen does not look good. The Jets beat them week 1. Zach Wilson beat them last year too, if you remember.
Yes.
So this is a game that it could be a huge step for the Jets, a huge momentum builder to sweep the Bills and leapfrog them in the division. And it could be the nail in the coffin for the Bills if they get swept by the Jets. I mean, that's kind of the end of the season for them, I think, at that point, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, so you look at the next 5 games for Buffalo, they could lose all 5, and it wouldn't surprise anybody, I don't think. I mean, they're playing the Jets, Philly, Dallas. Let me
pull it up.
I'm trying to go off my head right now and not look.
Jets, Philly, Kansas City, Dallas.
I forgot
Chargers.
Kansas City, yes. Yeah.
New England, and at Miami. And
Yeah.
at Miami. That's
at Miami.
Yeah, that's a fun place for them to play.
Can you imagine that?
In January, Buffalo's got to go down to South Florida. God, they better bring a lot of water.
Brutal, man. Just brutal. So
that is a schedule.
I'm not feeling Buffalo. They're in a bad place right now. They're just in a bad place.
I mean, what happens if the only win Buffalo has left for the year is New England? What happens to the Bills in the offseason?
So, firing the offensive coordinator, I'm glad you brought this up. So I'm assuming the offensive coordinator was telling Josh Allen to throw two or three interceptions a game, right? So they have to get fired for that. It's not the offensive coordinator that's telling him to throw into to four-man coverage. I get why he was fired. Somebody has to take the blame besides Josh Allen, but I don't know if I necessarily agreed with that. I just think that he's a scapegoat. He is, and I think he's trying to save his job. That's what I think. Buffalo's in trouble. They may want to see if the Giants are going to fire their head coach and bring him back as the offensive coordinator next year. Is probably what they should do. Brian Daboll. But I don't know. They're in a lot of trouble, man. I think they're going to beat the Jets today only because both teams need to win so bad. And I just don't think the Jets can keep up offensively. But I'm seeing like a 17-14 game right now, or 17-10. It's going to be low scoring. That's why I'm so tempted to take Josh Allen out and put in Josh Dobbs, to be quite honest. I think there's a bigger upside, but
the Jets defense is for real. I mean, when we talk about the elite defenses, they don't let quarterbacks do a lot. They're not winning games. The team's not winning games, but it's not because quarterbacks are lighting them up. I mean, outside of Dak Prescott's really the only quarterback who's had a really good game, and that game was just so out of control that it just didn't matter, right? So that was definitely a tough game to watch. But I mean, even last week with Justin Herbert. For the Jets. For the Jets. Justin Herbert only had 160 yards passing or something like that. I mean, they even held that offense in check, which is hard to do. Right. I mean, Justin Herbert, he damn near puts up 250 every week. Doesn't matter win or loss.
Know. It's just crazy.
Yeah. So let me let's pause for a second. Let's jump over to our chat here. Matthew the Menace 42. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for dropping the question in. Should I start Etienne or Pollard this week? So that's another tough situation you've got, I think, because Pollard hasn't been really great.
So he's probably been one of the biggest studs this year because he was going in the second round, right? Pollard was going first 2 rounds.
Yeah. And it's against the Panthers. I mean,
but that doesn't seem to matter with him.
No.
He just doesn't play well.
But if you're in a situation to look at who's going to be running the clock, you would think the Cowboys. But again, the Cowboys have been in that situation a lot this year. They are 6-3, and they've blown out a lot of teams. And Pollard still isn't putting up numbers to where you're like, yeah, that's why I drafted you in the second round, right? Like,
Pollard's only had one 100-yard game, and that was in Arizona in week 3. He has 2 touchdowns all year, so virtually no reception at the beginning of the year, I guess. I don't think I'm starting Pollard.
No, which is we've been kind of off on or down on Etienne, but I think he's your start. Between the two of those, he has the most upside, but coming off the IR, you don't feel great about that. But until Pollard shows you something, it's hard to say with any confidence that Pollard's the better choice there. So I would go with the home run here. I'd go with the home run.
I probably would too.
So, yeah. And then Allen needs a coach that can help him not play hero ball. Yeah, he's struggling in that aspect. They don't know how to run the ball, which has been their kind of their downturn that they still have never really gotten away from. And even though James Cooks looks good, he looks like a really good running
Yeah.
back, and they just don't use him enough. They
Yeah.
just want to throw, they want to throw, they want to throw, and Holland's making mistakes. And this Jets defense is really good at making quarterbacks make mistakes. They're also really bad at stopping the run. So this is a game where,
Right.
yeah, you should bench Allen, because if the Bills are smart, they're going to run the ball like crazy, because the Jets suck at run defense. So if you have James Cook and you're like, oh, I'm not even going to think about starting him, change your mind, because the Jets defense gives up running yards like crazy. Passing yards, nada. But you could run on the Jets. So if you have James Cook and you're like, didn't even drop him in the questions to ask, should I start James Cook? Like, you better elevate that and re-ask the question with him in it, because we need to reevaluate that. So, but yeah, I mean, if the Jets can figure this thing out, they had an internal offensive players team meeting, players only offensive meeting, which I don't know what that'll do, but sometimes that sparks something. So we'll see if maybe that helps. And last
Didn't
week
Michael Carter get like released right after that meeting? Isn't it kind of weird? Did that have anything to do with it? I don't know.
I mean, he had that huge chop block that was a drive killer, but then again, like, Uzama had a penalty that pulled a touchdown off the board. So, but he's still on the team. I was kind of shocked that they got rid of Carter. I would have rather got rid of Dalvin Cook, but at least Carter can catch the ball in the backfield. But yeah, they had that meeting. We'll see if that changes anything. I don't think it's as bad as a lot of people are talking about. The Zach Wilson almost had that rushing touchdown. His pinky toe stepped out of bounds before he dove in and scored that touchdown. So you're a pinky toe away from a touchdown there. You're one holding call from Brees Hall walking into the end zone. So, a couple, it's just penalties. Like, the Jets, I don't know if they need to fix a ton. Yes, they do, but they should be scoring touchdowns, but it's just continuous mistakes that are killing drives. They'll get 2 or 3 first downs, and then all of a sudden it's a holding, and then it's 1st and 20, and then they run the ball, and it's 3rd and 17, and you're not going to convert 3rd and 17.
Right.
And then boom, drives over again, and it's a field goal. So it's like, if they can just stop with the undisciplined football and play smart football, they can score points, and they will score points. They just have to stop. They have to stop killing themselves. And I think the Jets can win this game. Buffalo's a tough place to play, but it's 50 degrees and raining. It's not going to be snow. It's not going to be driving wind and, the crazy games that Buffalo's known for. So, this is a good time of year to be up there playing. You don't want to play December football in Buffalo. So it's good to have those out of the way. But yeah, I think the Jets could shock them and win this game. It's just, can they stop with the penalties? That's it. If they can stop the penalties, the defense is good enough, and we've seen what they've done to quarterbacks, and we've seen what they've done to Josh Allen the last 2 years. The Bills are in a bad spot. 1 or 2 turnovers in this game, and that team could fall apart.
Right.
So that's the other thing. If they could force Josh Allen into an early fumble, early interception, something like that, like, they might not recover from it. That could just be the end of it. And especially if it's a pick six, and then, they feel a little pressure to start pushing the ball downfield, and next thing you know, the Jets could get up 10-0 or something crazy like that, and force them into a bad situation. Again, the Jets have to score touchdowns before we can do anything, right? I'm just talking about that, but but I think they could win this game, and I don't think anybody would be overly surprised if they do. Like you were talking about, like, look at the schedule. And there's a chance the Bills could be looking past the Jets. I mean, they got Kansas City next, and or Philly next, at Philly, and then at Kansas City. I mean, that is, come on,
I know.
who put that together? Jesus, thank you. NFL. I mean, I enjoy it.
When they seen that. Now, could you imagine if Aaron Rodgers was playing? they would have to face Rodgers, Dak,
Oh man,
Mahomes,
Mahomes,
What
Herbert.
I mean, it's like Herbert. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like, come on, man.
yeah, right.
I mean,
that
how
is
fair is that?
that's
It isn't even fair.
no. No, I'm trying to think, like, when we talk about like teams have a gauntlet to go through, like that's not even a gauntlet. That's like that's an unwinnable. That's like, David versus Goliath that David never wins.
Right.
You're facing a fire breathing dragon with a twig.
So as a Jets fan, if you had Josh Allen and you had Joshua Dobbs, who would you start today? Josh Allen being the number one fantasy quarterback in my league. I have the number one quarterback, the number one running back, the number one defense, the number two kicker.
Wow.
I'm doing pretty well, but I'm having a hard time pulling this. But I think the right thing, I just looked at Denver weather. It's 59 degrees there and virtually no wind.
Yeah. And that's a Monday night game.
Sunday night game. They play
Sunday night game. Sorry. Yeah.
So it's going to get colder, but.
Yeah, but they're from Minnesota. That's not really going to be a big deal.
Really matter. I'm just having a hard time pulling Josh Allen out.
I know it goes against everything you think of, but I think you're right. Yeah. Dobbs against the Broncos
they give up points.
They do. And
that's
the
kind of
Broncos
why
defense
I
is
did
bad.
it. But don't get me wrong, it's 12:58 and I have the move button highlighted right now because I'm
to put who in?
To put Allen back in. I get Dobbs starting.
Run with it. I would run. I think it's the smart play. The Broncos defense is not good. So I think that's the right call.
Yeah.
God damn it. I keep getting this McAfee scan friggin' thing popping up and taking over my windows, but it's not the actual McAfee software bot. It's just it's taking over my ESPN window.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
And then starts high pitch beeping in my ear. So anyway, I think run with it.
I am. I get Dobbs. I'm 6-4. I think it's the right way to go. And I get Dak starting over Jalen Hurts this week too. That's how I got them two in the same league, but I'm 3-8.
Yeah, that shouldn't be allowed.
I'm 3-7.
Yeah.
So I'm on
maybe
3
you could trade one of them for somebody.
I think I need to.
Yeah. And last with the last 1 minute of the show before the game starts, did you see the news? The Jets are going to continue to pursue Davante Adams in the offseason.
Yeah, that seems a little weird that you can talk about that. I found it kind of odd that you can talk about that.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, I didn't know. And I know the Jets didn't come out and say that, but I'm like, man, they need to be careful that whoever mentioned that, they don't get the Jets in trouble because
that's an article.
I know they went after him
too.
That's what I mean. It was that's why it seems legit. You know what I mean? But it's like, should that have even come out? I don't know. I don't care. But it's just something that probably shouldn't be put out there.
But reading the article, there is nothing that ties that to the Jets saying we're going for him. It's all one source told ESPN. I think it will, or that will happen. I think so. Or the Jets will likely revisit the opportunity. Yeah, like they use the word. The wording is done to where
likely,
right. Yeah. So very interesting to see that, but to reunite Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers for one last hoorah, like that would be.
I know
him, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. Oh my God! If they don't get an offensive line in the offseason, it's going to be. I mean, but that'd be fun to watch. That would definitely be fun to watch.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
All right. Well, it is 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock Eastern time. So it is time for football. Yeah. So that will do it. Best of luck. I hope we helped. A lot of questions. Thank you, everybody that's watching. Thank you for getting questions in. That was a lot of fun, a whole lot of fun to help keep an eye on that. Let us know how we did. Please, if you're still watching and you haven't jump over to the YouTube side, please just subscribe there. Like, again, you don't have to watch there, but if you can subscribe there, that would be fantastic. Like I said, the algorithm goes off of likes and subscribes. So the more you like the episodes and the more you subscribe, the better it shows up in the algorithm and more people will see it. And sports, as you might know, is a very, very heavily marketed segment of YouTube. So help us out, please. If you enjoy it and we're helping, please help us. So yeah, but until next Sunday, best of luck. Going to be keeping an eye on a lot of players this week. Jets Bills going to be huge, and we'll see. John, you get to just sit back and watch some football, go do whatever, something on your free week off.
Come on, Bears, come on, Panthers, and come on, Giants. I'm pulling for all three today.
Cool. All right. Well, until next Sunday, guys, have a great week. Best of luck to your fantasy teams and real teams, and we will talk again real soon. For John, Jim, that's on his way to Florida, and Joe, we'll see you guys next week. Peace out.